Hello buddies, welcome to Borderline Games. I'm Gareth and today we're playing Chaos Head and we are doing the route that's called a bloody contract for your sins. It is the Ayase, the singer come hospital patient come giglomaniac, and we are currently in her room in the hospital and there's a D-sword. Someone knocked on her door and she sealed her lips tight. She was about to answer the door. Let's carry on. Excuse me. Oh, it's him. Sewer. That someone was but a single man. He'd come bringing gifts, namely, a large basket filled with all manner of fruits. Oh, she's not interested. She could recognize the man, which was far from a good sign. Thus, she stared at him with a dubious glare. Hi there. Oh, no need to be on edge, you know, I know who you are. The man was a detective at the Tokyo Metropolitan Police Department. He had once shadowed Ayase as she was originally a suspect for the New Gen case. The detective, relieved by her response, scratched his head. His demeanor was unendingly casual. Oh, wow, that's an ego boost. I'm so glad that such a pretty lady like you remembers little old me. You have a real good memory, huh? I'm impressed. The detective moved closer to her bed. Ayase briefly glanced at her D-sword, leaning against the window. It lay just outside her reach. I just dropped by to check up on you. I do not believe you. What is your objective? Yikes. Talk about straight to the point. The detective flinched very overtly, his reaction perhaps bordering on theatrical. Well, I just had a little something to ask you, Ayase-chan. Ah, right, I brought you this. If you're up to it, you should really eat. The detective smiled innocently, presented the basket he had brought with him, then placed it at Ayase's feet without waiting for approval. They're super tasty and expensive too. I do not want it. Oh, come on. Let a guy show you some hospitality. I brought them just for you, you know. Well, I don't mind if you leave them for when your mum visits. She can cut up a few slices for you then. Oh, shoot. It's been years since you last saw your parents, hasn't it, Ayase-chan? Despite the detective's insensitive remark, Ayase felt nothing in response to it. Her ties to her parents had been cut from a very young age. Her parents had a reputation to uphold, so a child that often caused problems like Ayase had been inconvenient to them, to say the least. Her only remaining contact with them was the wire transfer she received for her living expenses each month, though it could hardly be called that. I'm real sorry. The detective apologized, bowing down hastily. Ayase had only just gotten over the shock caused by her flashback, so she was in no mood to speak with him. Nonetheless, she urged herself to talk all the same. What is it you wanted to ask? You wish for an alibi? Not at all. We've already talked enough about that. No. I'm happy to announce that you're no longer considered a suspect, Ayase-chan. You're totally in the clear. I promise. Have you learned of their motive? The culprits? It's sorry, but I can't tell you that. It's a confidential part of the investigation. Is it Takumi? Can't confirm or deny. The detective smirked. He was attempting to laugh the question away. And yet something unrefined could be seen through the cracks of that smile. That said, Nishijoku sure is a weird kid, isn't he? You wouldn't really suspect him of being the killer based on how he looks. If he really is the culprit, then he's way too good at hiding his true nature. The guy would have to be a demon to be that good. Is he still a suspect? Nah, not really. The detective casually denied it with a smile, putting Ayase's persistent questions to rest. Oh, you didn't hear that from me, though. My supervisors will get real mad if they found out I leaked any info. Not that I would blame them. Besides, I only just got off the hot seat with my superior. I think you met him once before. You remember him, Ayase-chan? Ban-san? The detective with the scruffy black hair and the stubble? Ayase did remember him. When she'd been questioned, that older detective had been even more talkative than the younger one she was conversing with now. His way of speaking had been a lot more assertive as well. He's always pretty quirky to yell at me. No, he's pretty quick to yell at me. I swear I can't go one shift without him calling me a schmuck. Though I don't know why I'm the schmuck, when he's the one going off on these wild goose chases instead of just investigating what we were assigned to do. And as the sweet cherry on top, he's been forcing me to go along with him for all of it. Feels like I'm going to lose my mind if this keeps up. Well, I'm sure he's a good guy at heart, and his intuition is razor sharp. From what I heard, he's had to lead some pretty difficult cases in the past. So that's probably why he's turned so hard-boiled. Is this what you wish to talk about? Why you came here? Ayase interrupted the man, and his smile quickly soured. Oh, sorry. I got a little sidetracked. Please keep everything I just told you a secret. Do this, and I, Sua Mamoru, will be indebted to you for the rest of your life. The rest of my life. So? For starters. Why'd you do it? Despite his ambiguous phrasing, Ayase could tell that he was referring to her diving off the school rooftop. I already explained why several times, to the other detective. To avert the resurrection of the wicked-hearted king, Gladiel, right? I did not do it with the intention to die. I did it merely to ascend my spirit to a higher stage. You said something similar about your songs too, yeah? The ones that are pretty popular with kids your age. And that was the second question he had for her. Ayase let out a faint sigh. Those lyrics were not about New Gen in the slightest. I merely wrote them based on the Gladiel Book of Psalms and Revelation, Chapter 3, verse 102. The arrival of the wicked-hearted king, Gladiel, is nigh. This world shall become, will soon know his presence. Only with 7 stakes forged in black and blood, shed by Gladiel himself, may his resurrection be averted. The stakes shall be reforged into swords, and the swords shall be bestowed upon the 7 black knights who withstood divine punishment itself. An eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth. For only mortals burdened with wicked hearts may overthrow the wicked-hearted king. Wow, that sounds like something straight out of a movie. I love me a crazy epic storyline like that. Ayase glared at the detective in response to his comment. It is not some sort of storyline. It is reality. Well then, I've got one more question for you. The detective casually brushed away Ayase's objection, though she was all too used to this form of dismissal by now. Not a single person she had told this story to thus far had believed it. You know, we've investigated a whole lot of other students at Sumai, other than you and Nishijo-kun, and, well... The detective mumbled to himself as he folded his arms. This was very obviously another act of theatrics, and Ayase had no intention of commenting on it. What is it? Well, this is gonna sound a little crazy. And it's not something a detective should be asking, really. And it's kinda childish, if I'm being honest. I see. If you do not intend to ask me something, then take your leave. My head hurts. Oh, okay, wait. What I was trying to say is, Ban-san said something really weird once. That you guys must be wizards or something. Upon hearing that, the subject of that remark was plural. Ayase raised her eyebrows in suspicion. That's obviously not true, right? We are. As she replied, Ayase's line of sight was directed not toward the man, but toward her hand that lay atop her bedsheets. You're a very interesting girl, Ayase-chan. But New Gen is wholly unrelated to the Knights of Gladiol. Gotcha. Well, not that it really matters either way. The detective, completely disinterested in what Ayase had just said, brushed off her words once again, then began to stretch. The moment he did so, a diligent sound suddenly cut through the silence of the room. The detective, surprised by this interruption, reached into the pocket of his suit and took out his cell phone. Oh, geez. Cell phones aren't allowed in here. Ha! Shoot. I must have forgotten to power it off. Oh man, it looks like a certain girl's calling me. It's my lovely girlfriend. We've been together for 4 years now. Can you believe it? He turned his phone off with a grin, forcing the caller to hang up. He then turned to Ayase once more. You a movie buff, Ayase-chan? Ever heard of Spark Wars? My ringtone's the Count Darth Spider theme from the movie, also known as the thing you just heard. Ayase had no interest in movies or anything of the sort. Having long since decided that she had no obligation to further entertain the detective's questioning, she returned to gazing silently outside the window. To be honest, I'm kind of a Spark Wars superfan. Oh, but judging from that, you're probably not interested. Sorry. Well, guess I'll get out of your hair now. See ya! Let's get the fuck out of here. With that, the detective concluded the conversation with which he had no partner, then left the hospital room. Ayase did not even turn around to watch him go. With the man gone, all that reflected in her eyes was the twilight sky, slowly turning indigo. I'd showed up at school on Thursday for one reason, and one reason only, to meet up with Masumi-kun so we could go see Ayase at the hospital. Granted, he had more or less forced me to tag along, but I still figured that maybe Ayase could help me out. With Remy seemingly out of the picture, I needed someone else to protect me, and Ayase was one of the candidates I had in mind. So maybe, just maybe, if she had already recovered somewhat, she might have been able to do something to that effect. And on top of that, with her help, my chances of obtaining a real D-sword would skyrocket. I really couldn't do it on my own. Then again, it was Ayase herself who'd said obtaining a D-sword isn't something one can teach. But still, this was Ayase we were talking about here. Surely she could help somehow. Coming in through the front entrance, Masumi-kun looked around the lobby in confusion. What's wrong? I called out to him. Well, I was just trying to figure out where Kishimoto's room was. Had he seriously come this far without knowing that? This guy was beyond belief sometimes. This is the outpatient ward. The hospital ward is next door. Shit, that right? Tokyo General Hospital. It was the hospital I'd gone to ever since I was a kid. I'd even come here just the other day, so I was pretty knowledgeable on where everything was. Dr. Takashina's face flashed across my mind, and I involuntarily groaned to myself. I was just making sure we hadn't done this before. I don't think we have, but it's very similar to something else. As we walked to the hospital ward, Masumi-kun turned to me. So, which of these rooms is hers? How should I know? This was a general hospital, so there was obviously a ton of different wards and departments, if I had to guess. probably not the surgery ward. But she could maybe be in the psychiatric ward. There hadn't been any visible injuries on Ayase after she'd fallen. And considering she'd attempted suicide, her mind had likely been brought to the brink, so her being in the psychiatric ward would seem very possible. Even I'd been taken to the psych ward after the uproar at the O-Front. Huh. You sure know your stuff, Taku. Thinking that wandering around the ward would cause problems for the patients, we decided to ask for help at the nurse's station, and just like I'd predicted, they told us that she was on the floor for psychiatric patients. Hey, remember what I told you? You know the fastest way to a woman's heart? Masumi-kun grinned from ear to ear as the two of us walked down the hall. Was that seriously the only reason for visiting her in the hospital? At least have the common sense to not talk about it out loud. Regardless. I think he'd said the fastest way was act like you care in her moment of weakness or something like that. Today I'll make sure to know that Ice Queen a real man. To show that Ice Queen a real man. Masumi-kun shone a pearly white smile and gave me a thumbs up. It didn't matter how confidently he said them, the words coming out of his mouth were totally disgusting, but I guess he could get away with it because of his good looks. Must have been nice, being an alpha male. Oh yeah, you and Kishimoto are pretty close, right? Not really. Come on, you can't fool me. Well, whatever, just follow my lead. Put in some good words for me as we go. Something like, oh yeah, Masumi Daisuke's such a great guy. I trust him with my life. Lay it on real thick. I can't. Oh, come on, don't say that. I'm on my hands and knees here, Taku. Have a little restraint, will you? You're at a hospital, not a mixer. With him acting like this, was it even a good idea to have him see Ayase at all? It wasn't like she really cared about him much anyway. The pit in my stomach was getting deeper and deeper by the second. Oh shit. This one it? Masumi-kun stopped in front of a door and pointed at the nameplate. It definitely did say Kishimoto Ayase. The door was closed though, so we couldn't actually see who was inside. Well, you're going to talk me up once we're in? Yeah. For the time being, I nodded in agreement. Although even if I did get the chance to say something to Ayase, I doubted I'd be able to say much anyway, regardless of whether Masumi-kun was there or not. Sup, Kishimoto-san? Masumi-kun opened the door, greeting Ayase with a cheerful tone. We came to visit. But that tone didn't last very long. His face immediately froze. Wondering what made him stop, I decided to peek over his shoulder. Whoa. The room was around 10 meters. Why are there 3 there? What's going on? The room was around 10 meters squared and 10 square meters in size. Past the entrance, there was a bathroom to the right and a bed in the back, and on the bed... Whoa! What happened? Sat Ayase, stained with blood from head to toe. Her hollow eyes pierced straight through us. Ah! Ah! Masumi-kun let out a pathetic scream, then shoved me aside and flew out of the room. I wanted to run as well. But... my legs were frozen in place. I quivered in fear. And yet at the same time I was struck by the bewitching beauty of the blood-drenched girl, as well as the things leaning against the wall behind her. I couldn't move an inch from where I stood. The objects resting there, as if it were the most normal thing in the world, were these swords. 3 of them, to be precise, including the ones I'd seen her wielding before. Each one had a different shape. One had a form so strangely sophisticated it could barely pass for a sword. Another was shaped like a cross, its form evoking a sense of rending pity. And the last one, which Ayase had used before, appeared mystical yet aerodynamic. Why did Ayase have 3 D-swords? Wait, why had I assumed that a person could only have one? Maybe Senna and Kozupe had multiple swords too. Takumi. She called my name and I gulped. She began to approach me, her body surrounded by an air of elegance. I was frozen in place. You came after all. Why is there so much blood? Her pajamas were dyed crimson by an abundance of blood. Blood that hadn't even dried yet. The rusty smell of fresh blood seeped into my nose. This is the blood of the Black Knights. Black Knights? Is it yours? It is not. Then, whose? And were you the one who killed them? Ayase smiled a wide smile and then she giggled. You must be frightened, Takumi. She stroked my cheek with her blood-soaked fingers. But what frightens you the most lies within your own heart. You must cleanse your wicked heart of impurity and safeguard only the purity that remains within. If you can achieve this, you shall obtain your D-sword. You must obtain it at all costs. You are a Black Knight. You possess the strength to do so. But if I get a D-sword, are you gonna kill me too? I mean, you're here to kill Black Knights, right? Do not be fooled. That is the impure wickedness swaying you. Ayase peered at my face, her hands still on my cheek. Her eyes looked hollow and yet I could sense a profound radiance buried deep within them. I couldn't take my eyes off her. Black Knights hold authority over wicked hearts. However, the wicked-hearted king was cunning. The Gladiel Saga, Volume 6, Verse 250. Gladiel will gradually erode the domain of wicked hearts, reach complete dominance under a veil of silence before at last driving them to rampage. We cannot afford to lose this battle. We must oppose the wicked-hearted king's invasion of the hearts of men. I had never made eye contact with a 3D girl for this long before. I was completely captivated by the traces of sorrow, desolation, and vigor in her eyes. I hadn't listened to a single word she'd said. Protect me. When I snapped out of the trance, I found myself muttering that. Protect me, please. Very well. Ayase nodded without a second thought, and then she brought her face close to mine. The stench of blood grew stronger, becoming more and more overwhelming. This is how it was foretold. She whispered softly in my ear. My heart was racing. I will protect you, so please protect me as well. With her body smeared in blood, she was so corrupt, so impure, and yet so bewitching at the same time. It was hard to believe that a girl like her was a student at my school, and in the same year as me, no less. There are no longer any other Black Knights who can fill this role. At first I attempted to gather the Black Knights as prophesized, but with my strength alone, it proved impossible. But if you were here, Takumi... Just like she had at the concert, Ayase showed me a face that was unbearably seductive, a face she rarely ever showed. Eventually, the gate of Cocytus, I assume that's how you say that, will open, and when it does, the wicked-hearted king shall descend upon this world. That is why we must hurry and collect them. All 7 D-swords. You and I, together. Don't fall for it, Takumi. Don't jump into this. There were 3 D-swords leaning against the wall. In other words, there were 4 left. One of them is the D-sword you must obtain yourself. I already tried. I couldn't do it. Back at Ophrunt, I'd come so close, but in the end, I'd thrown it all away. I'd given up completely on getting a D-sword. Do not succumb to despair. Many more opportunities shall arise. It is already visible to you after all. That alone is evidence that you are a Black Knight. So, eventually, I'll be able to do it.
If you can conquer the impurity of your wicked heart, then it is certain.
What was wicked heart supposed to mean? Was she saying my heart was wicked and impure because of my perverted delusions or something? Oh god, it would not be easy to conquer that. Probably even impossible, what the fuck? WTF. Ayase let go of me and returned to her bed. And right when she did, she suddenly began undoing the buttons on her pajamas.
I'll be changing clothes now.
What? Wait. Flustered, I instantly looked away. I figured I should probably leave the room, but right as I went to...
Stay.
After hearing that, I couldn't move an inch. The only thing I heard after that was the sound of Ayase taking her clothes off, echoing throughout the quiet room. The hospital room wasn't very big, it was slightly larger than my base, but still pretty small. And so there I was, alone in a tiny room with Ayase, and she was right behind me, changing clothes. I could tell it was happening right behind my back. Shit, I was so nervous, but why? It made no sense. It wasn't like I wasn't used to this kind of stuff. There was a scene just like this in that one Eroge. A slime girl appears with CGs by Higashi Matsushima.
Why do you look away, Takumi?
Because I shouldn't look. My voice almost cracked as I spoke.
Are you abashed?
Are you not? Was she trying to tell me that it was okay to look? I mean, I wasn't into 3D girls, not even remotely. That being said, if she was giving me permission to look, I wasn't going to say no. I mean, of course you weren't, Takumi.
You should be made aware that you are being fooled. Those feelings of yours, they are proof of his erosion of your wicked heart.
Fooled? By who?
By whom? The wicked-hearted king, Gladiel.
I casually picked up the book on the bedside table in front of me. On the cover was the Gladiel Saga, Volume 17, the Book of Psalms and Revelation. Who's Gladiel?
A wicked existence. The manifestation of negative delusions. The collective consciousness of the darkness that dwells within the hearts of all. A deity that will bring the end of the world. He goes by many names.
Does that guy use a wheelchair? Like, is he disabled?
Gladiel does not always take human form. I have finished, you may look.
I slowly turned back around to face Ayase. She was already done changing clothes, and for some reason she was now wearing her school uniform. Why your school uniform?
Because he is drawing near. Gladiel's awakening is upon us. We need to be ready to move at all times.
Then wouldn't normal clothes be better? Well, whatever. What's done is done. Does this Gladiel guy have anything to do with Giglomaniacs?
Giglia... what?
Ayase raised her eyebrows in confusion. Seemed like she didn't know. Maybe Giglomaniac was just the term that Senna used for them. Giglomaniacs. That's what Senna called people with a D-sword and powers. She said that the D-sword is like a channel or something, connected to the direct sea.
I suppose everyone has their own names for things. A D-sword is the materialization of one's own wicked heart. That is what is written in the Gladiel Saga, Volume 3, verses 11-23. It is a tome of prophecies.
As she said that, her gaze was fixated on the book in my hands.
Everyone seems to believe that my lyrics contain foreknowledge. But in truth, I simply take inspiration from the Gladiel Book of Psalms and Revelation. Which must mean that those psalms are some sort of written prophecy. How did, nobody else notice this?
A written prophecy? Are you kidding me?
I am completely serious. Everything happening in Shibuya right now, and everything that will happen has been foretold in the form of a story by Ziegler.
Ziegler?
The author of the Gladiel saga. He has since passed away, but I believe Ziegler was a great Black Knight when he was alive.
I was really starting to think that Black Knights was just her term for Giglomaniacs. And if the author of this book was a Giglomaniac, then no wonder he could predict the future. I skimmed through the book I was holding. The Gladiel Saga, Volume 17, the Book of Psalms and Revelation. And what I saw shocked me. It was blank. No matter how many pages I turned, no matter where I looked inside the book, there wasn't a single word. What the hell? I turned back to check the front cover. It wasn't a normal book cover, it was almost entirely blank. All that was written on was the title and the author, not even the name of the publisher. Once again, I tried flipping through the book from the beginning, but even the first page was blank. And no matter how many times I went through the book, I couldn't find a single one with any writing on it. Okay, what does that say about Ayase then? Is this a misprint? It's quite a hell of a misprint.
What do you mean?
I mean, isn't this just completely blank?
What are you saying?
Everything is written there.
Oh, everything is written there. I've read through it countless times.
What are you talking about? Look. I shoved the open book right in Ayase's face. I don't care what you say, that's totally blank.
It's not blank at all, though.
Yes it is.
There are words written right there. Can you not see them, Takumi?
Was she screwing with me? Or was she actually being serious? Maybe Ayase had been a complete mental case all along, and I'd only just realised it just now.
So you cannot see them. Then you are being eroded by the wicked-hearted king.
Ayase was dead serious. She really didn't seem to be joking. In fact, I was pretty sure I'd never seen her crack a joke even once before. I took another look at the book, but I really didn't see a thing. It really just looks blank to me.
I see.
Ayase's shoulders drooped in disappointment, and she then took the book from my hands. Her hands were cold to the touch.
Have you ever thought about it?
Huh? Thought about what?
That the shape of the world is formed by the eye of the beholder. And nobody can measure the difference in perception. Concepts of cognition can never match between two people. But I can at least say this much. The difference between what you see and what I see can be attributed purely to the influence of our wicked hearts. And the wicked-hearted king, Gladiel, is the collective of all wicked hearts. He is about to waken. Soon. And if he does, it is entirely certain that all 6.7 billion worlds in this land shall be amalgamated through the chaos born from the wicked-hearted king, and then they shall meld together into one. Boundaries will disappear. All shall be consolidated by the wicked hearts into a single world. Everything will be reborn in chaos, lacking any pattern only to perish in an instant. Concepts, cognition, causality, all of them will shatter. A world including everything, and therefore containing nothing. Like any other legend, this calamity too has been prophesied. By the revelation, the Psalms of the Apocalypse. The Psalms of the Apocalypse.
Was that really true? Was that what was written in that blank book? In the Gladiel Book of Psalms and Revelation? And I guess we'll find out next time on Borderland Games. Thank you so much for watching this episode of Chaos Head. And I will see you next time. Take care of yourselves. Bye-bye. Bye-bye.